Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 18, season 5 of The Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live Wednesdays on Facebook and YouTube throughout the season. Paul and Richie have both said they're unable to appear tonight, perhaps due to that horrible Warriors loss in the weekend, but I have managed to convince Roo from Roo and Hammer to help me out tonight. Evening, Roo. How are you?
Hi,
and you unfortunately had to sit and watch that game live. So how are you doing?
Oh, mate, yeah, I certainly did. G'day, Brad. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on with you and all your viewers. And, doing well. I'm slowly getting over that, mate. That was an absolute hammering. As I was saying to you before we went on air, the day itself was actually really good, apart from that 80 minutes on the field. So we had a really good pre-game meet-up with all the fans at the Sporting Globe at Robina, always well-attended, fantastic. Afterwards, we had the post-match function, and you got to give credit to the players for turning up and showing a brave face after that performance. But boy, oh boy, that was as bad as it gets. I don't know what to say, mate. It was just easily the worst game that I've ever seen live. So you guys think it was bad watching it on TV? Try sitting there. It was actually quite a warm day. We're sitting right out in the sun as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. 11 tries, an absolute shellacking.
We're going to talk about it a bit more later on anyway, unfortunately. Yeah. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m., you can also catch our show at your convenience by going on iHeartRadio or Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week. We'll then review the round 16 matches. We'll then answer some questions from you guys, as well as some questions we've prepared for each other. I haven't thrown Roo under the bus. I've got Richard's question for me. So I've got that, and I've also got his answer for mine, but I'm going to throw it out to Roo as well if he wants to answer it.
Sure.
We'll then preview State of Origin 2 in round 17 and just discuss who we're going to pick. And then we'll quickly end with a recap of Super League, because I know that's Jacko's favorite part of the show. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show. I'll do my best to keep on track with them, since that's usually Paul's job. But I may as well jump straight into the top stories, Roo. I didn't grab too many because we want to get everyone off to Origin, but Newcastle Knights today released a statement regarding David Armstrong and have said that they're not going to stand in his way for him accepting an offer from the Leeds Leopards to join them at the end of the season. I don't know if you've kept track with it, but he had done an extension with the Knights and then got a better offer and wants out. They're not standing in his way. I understand maybe from his point of view that fullback spot isn't probably going to be his next year again, but he's very young to already go to Super League. I suppose he's young enough to come back, but what do you reckon about that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? He literally signed a 2-year extension, did a backflip. I think in his absence, there was another young fullback that came in that played really well, and then he got retained ahead of Armstrong when he was back from injury as well. And the writings on the wall, like that, they're not going to play ahead of Ponga, so they'd be playing second string fullback. So I suppose if he gets a full-time gig over in the Super League and he gets a bit of dinero, then why not go, I guess. And as you said, he's young enough to come back and find a gig wherever that might be in the NRL.
Yeah, it's interesting. Full credit to him if he wants to go over there and get some experience, I guess. But yeah, it's just funny. I feel like there'd be a few NRL teams that would have grabbed him. Yeah. But that might have been the caveat with the Knights might say, we're going to let you go, but not to an NRL club.
Yeah, he's got to go to Super League. Yep.
Yeah. So good luck to him there. We'll move on. Brad Arthur's been rumoured to have met with the Perth NRL bid team, as they believe if they can get him on board, it would strengthen their case to be the official next NRL side. What do you reckon? I don't mind Arthur as a coach. I think he was kind of thrown under the bus getting sacked after having Moses and Gutho out for so long. But it's not like you're going to get a Wayne Bennett or one of those big names to take up the job. So I think he's probably the best option. And I don't know if you guys have discussed it on your show that much, but what side of the fence do you sit on with who the next team should be?
Yeah, I was always quite pro PNG, and but now it looks like Perth have kind of overtaken them. But Perth are definitely the more logical choice to go in first. I mean, there's a lot of logistics involved with having a team in Papua New Guinea, and I think they're looking at delaying their entry for another 4 or 5 years, maybe like 2027 or something like that, because so they can have. They're going to need that time to attract players to go to PNG and that sort of thing. So Perth, I mean, it's bloody far away. I explain this to a lot of Kiwi mates of mine. Like, have you seen how far away Perth is from everything else? It's about a 5-hour flight from Brisbane. Having said that, there is a lot of expats over there. There's mines, so there's a lot of East Coasters over there working in the mines. A lot of Kiwis over there. A lot of South Africans. So there's a rugby flavour in Perth. The Western Reds probably didn't really get the best run, and they were unlucky with the whole Super League kind of thing that went down. But look, I think, if they pick and stick with Perth, it'll be really good for the game, for the NRL, and it gives an extra time slot as well. So you can have that super Saturday. I think that's why they like Perth, because they can put that much later game. Not good for our Warriors having to fly over there if they're having to play that bloody 8 o'clock kickoff at Perth. But yeah,
they did that to us once. I remember where it was
kicked off at 1 a.m. or something.
It was midnight. It was kicked off at midnight, and so they learned from that. Afterwards, we got like afternoon games where it was a better time frame for New Zealand to watch. But I didn't put in the notes, but I saw Justin Olam came out about the PNG bid and said he thinks it needs a couple of years of thinking before they just jump in. So even he would be traditionally one of their marquee signings if they had a team. So if he's even like, no, we need to put extra thought into it, I think it's the way to go. I think there eventually will be one.
I agree. We need to, because they're rugby league mad up there. It's the only country in the world where rugby league is the national sport. So I agree, but we just need to give it a bit of time. Perth makes a bit more sense. And Brad Arthur being involved is a really good choice. As you said, he was pretty unlucky in his Parramatta tenure. That they're a bit of a ruthless bunch. Like, they haven't won a premiership since, I think, 1986. So they're, he got them as close as they have been in a long time, back in 2022. So he'd be an excellent choice for a new franchise, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And next bit of news, bit of I don't want to say a surprise, but Tyrone Peachey announced his retirement at the end of the year. I feel like he's still young enough to keep playing, but he's kind of been a bit of a journeyman, felt like he's been at almost every club. So I guess the writing was on the wall for me. He wasn't a persistent first grader anymore, and I guess he may not have had any bites from other clubs to potentially jump to yet another one. So he might have just decided to hang it up. He's had a pretty good career, don't get me wrong, but it was a bit of a surprise seeing it. I thought he might have had 1 or 2 more years in him, but good luck to him for wherever he's going to next. You got any thoughts on Tyrone before we move on?
Oh, just that he always used to score tries against us when he was at Penrith. So in that regard, I'm not too disappointed to see him retire. But good luck to him. I think when he left Penrith the first time, that's when his career started going on that sort of downward trajectory. He struggled at the Gold Coast and then the Tigers.
Yeah.
But he had a pretty good career, played for New South Wales. I think he played for Australia as well. So, good career. Congratulations.
Yeah, and next one, Imre Gula has apparently requested a release from the Raiders at the end of the season on compassionate grounds. I looked into a little bit. It sounds like he's interested in heading back to Sydney to be closer to family and stuff. Could potentially be an option for the Bulldogs. I know they're looking for middles. He's not anything amazing, but he's a solid guy you would have in your team just to do the little things. And that's something the Bulldogs kind of need. I know he's not a utility, so they might not be ready to jump on him straight away, but that's the only team I can really think of in Sydney that needs a prop off the top of my head. I'm sure they will potentially Tigers if they lose Stefano, but I've got that in my next bit of news where they're looking at someone a bit better. But what do you think about Gula, and where do you think he would end up?
Definitely Bulldogs, because I think Mark was saying that his family owns a kebab shop in sort of like the Belmore area. So that if he wants to be close to the family and everything, then that wouldn't surprise me.
Close as you get.
Close as you can get, yeah. So he's a solid enough player. He's done really well in Canberra. I can tell Ricky, he's one of Ricky Stewart's favourites. So we'll see where he ends up. He'll be a handy pickup.
Yeah. So I'll keep my ear to the ground. I'm sure when we have some news, me and Richie will talk about it. But we just talked about the Tigers briefly, but they've actually been rumoured to be looking at Big Nelson Asafa Solomona as an option if Stefano does decide to leave. Stefano's been getting interviewed all week about where you're going, and I feel for him. He sounds just like a young kid where he's not really sure. Like he said, you want to win, but he also, it feels like he doesn't want to leave the Tigers on the same, but he's running out of time, I think, in his head to get that premiership, and Tigers are a long way away from being in that type of thing. I get both sides, but I don't know if you've seen it on our show. I've kind of been pushing the story for the Tigers would be convincing these players, you want to be here when we turn this around. You don't want to jump off and then the Tigers get better. You want to be part of it. It's a hard thing to bargain with a player because they want to win. They don't want to necessarily be part of a rebuild. But Stefano as well, unfortunately, would get picked up from almost any other team.
Oh, he's a good enough player. So much interest. There'd be so much interest for him. It's a bit of an interesting carrot to dangle in front of him, saying like, we're not going well now, but just hang tight. In a couple of years, we'll be right up there. But at the same time, he doesn't want to use all his prime years battling it out, sort of constantly in rebuild mode. So yeah, mate, that is a very tough decision. But who knows? I think finish year with a wet sail.
I think they could get Nelson as well, though. I think Nelson with his relationship with Benji.
Yeah.
It's not like it doesn't really sound like the Storm are that interested to try to keep him.
Well, he's been out of favour for most of the year, hasn't he? So
that could be a good shout out. Even if Stefano stays, they could try to wrangle something and get Nelson as well. Maybe give them an enforcer so their forwards are taken a bit more seriously. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm always champing at the bit to see the Tigers improve.
I mean, everyone wants to see them do well. You don't want to see a team constantly finishing last, getting the spoon, struggling. So
yeah,
I'm sure you guys will want to see Benji do well as a coach. So
yeah, exactly. And next bit of news. Done a complete 180 from our stories last year, but Ben Hunt has confirmed that he is looking at extending his contract with the Dragons after Origin is done. So felt like every episode last year we were saying he doesn't want to be there. He's trying to get out. He looks like he just wants to end everything and get as far away from Dragons as possible. Now he loves the place, which is kind of what everyone was saying would happen once Flanagan got there.
Yeah.
Despite him being a big fan of what's his name? The old coach, Hook.
Oh, Hook.
He was a big Hook fan. And
someone's got to like him.
Exactly. I don't mind it. I think Ben's been doing really well. The Dragons always look better when he's out there with them. So if they're happy to keep him, I'm happy to see it go. It's just a complete 180 from the Ben Hunt we had earlier. But yeah, I was trying to think. The only other place I'd think is the Broncos potentially trying to bring him back with Anna Reynolds kind of at the end of his run.
He's the same age. Him and Reynolds are like the same age. I think they're about 33, 34. So yeah,
Hunty just doesn't get injured though.
No, he doesn't. Unlike Reynolds, yeah. So I think they were kind of talking that. Yeah, he wanted to go back to Queensland somewhere. He's originally from Rocky, which is sort of central Queensland. So I don't know, you'd Cowboys, Titans, Broncos, Dolphins. I don't know if he wants to get back to Queensland. But Mate, so it's kind of a no-brainer, really. He's already at the Dragons. They're on the improve. They've shown a lot of positive signs this year, so I'm sure he'd like to be part of them, of their sort of resurgence. Yeah.
You say rubbish like that, I'll cut you off the show right away. They're not on the improve.
I know you
They're getting lucky. Wooden Spoon 2025.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Of course, mate. Sorry.
Next bit of news was about Taylor May and the Panthers. They've apparently issued him a second breach notice for bringing the club into disrepute due to the pending domestic violence charges. We've covered it a few weeks ago. He's going to court in March. They'd already done a breach notice. We're trying to get rid of him. He apparently countered back, saying it'd be a wrongful dismissal, and it seemed to, instead of make it go away, it looks like the Panthers have doubled down. I'm a fan of clubs that have a no dickhead rule. So he kind of fits in that. Taking the domestic violence stuff, he's got to have his day in court before that's proven guilty or not guilty. But it seems every other week there was something with him happening. Just seems like a problem child, and they're a team that kind of can afford to just let a guy like him go because they'll have another kid that fills his place. But I'll put my balls on the line. I'll say we won't see him back with the Panthers because he's not allowed to play until March next year anyway. If he gets found guilty, he won't be playing for anyone. But I think between now and then, they'll find some way to pay him out.
Yeah, it just feels like it's a bit sort of untenable now. Too much damage has been done sort of from both parties. Yeah, you're right. Like they could easily cut their losses. I think he's got form on the board with all that sort of off-field rubbish. So yeah, bring on the next young kid off the Penrith production line, I suppose.
Yeah, and Jacko mentioned that he rocked up to the Panthers HQ with about 4 lawyers in tow. So things are going to get messy. Yeah, it's not a good time when you got all that stuff going on. But we'll move on. This one I put in because I thought it'd be interesting. I know you guys essentially started with Ruin Hammer focusing a lot on the NRLW.
Yeah.
The Titans and Seagulls have actually joined forces for the NRLW. Titans obviously have a team there, but any of their players that aren't selected in the NRLW side are going to play reserve grade for Manly, which I thought was quite interesting. I can see it from Manly's point of view. They'll get some experienced people in to help them develop their players for when they get their time and get a team in the NRLW. And it keeps those Titans players not playing some good footy, I guess. It's an interesting concept. You're kind of more free to do that, I guess, in the NRLW because of the limited teams. So, I put it in here just because I thought it was an interesting concept that we haven't really seen.
That is interesting. Yeah, so like a swap deal kind of thing, or player loan system.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And then last one before we get into Warriors news stuff. The RLPA CEO Clint Newton, I forgot to put this on your notes, sorry.
Yep.
Clint Newton has called for the NRL to reduce the length of the regular season, saying, I've got his quote here, I don't think the game and the players can sustain the current model for much longer. We've talked about it quite a bit on our show about where we see the sweet spot for length. I have been of the opinion that once they get to 20 teams, they just play everyone once instead of doing the twice. Because we did discuss it last week a bit, where you might get the Panthers will play everyone once, and then they play the Warriors, the Tigers, the Dragons twice, and then you might get the Tigers where they play everyone once, and then they play the Panthers, the Storm, the Roosters, and that twice. There's no rhyme or reason to who you play twice, but you can't also just cut it down right now because of their TV deals. But I think when you got more teams, you could be a bit more flexible. But I think ultimately it's not the NRL's decision. It's the television people. They kind of dictate what they want at the moment, especially when they say, we're going to pay you this much. This is what we want in return. So you probably get a little bit more over there because you guys your model for watching the league's a bit different than what it is over here. We kind of got it all on one channel. I know over there they've got 9 and Fox, and you can watch it on KO, right?
Yeah. So Channel 9 get the pick of the free-to-air games. So they get the Thursday night, the second Friday, and the Sunday, the 4 o'clock, the second Sunday game. And then towards the end of the year, they also get a Saturday night game. So I think they pick all those games at the start of the year, and the rest of it's just on Fox or KO or however you watch it over here. But you guys have got it all on Sky Sports, haven't you?
Yeah, so we get
it just depends who the commentator is.
Yeah, we don't really get free to air. Sky has been doing a bit where they've got like a free to air channel, and they have played a few games. Simon, who's in our chat, is usually the guy that lets us know, because I have the Sky, so I just watch it on Sky. But they have been getting a few free to air games out there due to the popularity, basically, of the Warriors after last year. We'll see how that changes this week. But
the Warriors are never on free to air TV over here. Channel 9 pick them for the absolute bare minimum of games, always have done. So
yeah,
I suppose for you guys it doesn't matter. It's all in one location.
Yeah, which I find weird. I know my old flatmate who lives in Melbourne now, but he went to America and he watched the Warriors play the Storm in a bar in New York.
Yeah,
because they had it on. It was like they were even watching it over there, and that was a few years back. But
okay.
Checo said there are some delayed games on free to air. Yeah, I think Prime used to do it. I don't know who it is. And Simon said they play one Friday night game on Sky Open channel. Starts live but finishes late due to advertising delays. So they put ads and stuff in. But they're even doing that on Sky over here now. We're watching, it happened 3 or 4 times in that Titans game where you're watching and then the screen goes small and they've got like a L-shaped ad on the screen for Sky.
Yeah, that's what they do on 9. Yeah, that's how they sustain their live coverage. Yeah, minimizes. They do the McDonald's ad or whatever, and Toyota forklift and all that stuff.
That was a big caveat away from, would you want to see a reduced season or not?
Yeah, I agree with you. Once we get to 20 teams, go back to the 22-round competition like we had. I don't know if they even still need buys. They still, I don't know how it'd go, but
I think you could just do it where you do buys in the origin period.
Do like split rounds or something like that. Or
I don't know.
That's what they used to do back in the 90s. Yeah, I remember it always used to be 22-round competition in the 90s, and you knew exactly, it was like the perfect length.
Yeah.
And you had your smaller pool of finalists.
Yeah. It's going to be an argument that will go on forever until they make a decision. We didn't really get a definitive answer out of me and Richie last week because we both disagreed. But we'll move on. I've got 3 Warriors things before we get into signings. So Cameron George spoke with the Sydney Morning Herald after that loss and advised there is a 1-year deal on the table for Sean Johnson and that Sean hasn't made a decision on signing it yet because there was a bit of spin from some people over on your side that what are they doing? Why haven't they got him signed up yet? He came out to say, we've done our part. It's up to him. We're not forcing him or pressuring him. We all know he's not going anywhere else. It's either I'm playing at the Warriors or I'm retiring. That's not really a decision you can rush, especially they haven't played well. He's been getting all these injuries. There'd be a lot weighing on his mind on what he wants to do. So just kind of let him do it. But he also spoke about the Dylan Brown rumors that Richard brought up last week on our show. I know we've been talking about it in our chat as well. And he said that the club have not spoken to Dylan Brown or his management, which was kind of the opinion we had. It didn't really make sense, especially when they've got an offer for Sean on the table. But yeah, what do you take on the deal for Sean and the Dylan Brown rumors and whatever his management have been trying to do to up his price?
Oh, doing the old Steve Maddai, you mean?
I think so.
Yeah. With the Dylan Brown stuff first, Didn't they say the same thing right before we signed Capewell? Had no contact with him. Have never spoken to his manager.
That is true.
Who knows? But yeah, it'll all come down. Probably all come down to what happens with SJ. Isn't Dylan Brown contracted until 25? He's got a player option or something that he declined.
Yeah, I think that's how it is. I think I said on our show when Richard asked me that it was only 3 weeks, but if Sean does retire, I'm happy for them to let Tamati be the guy instead of paying whatever they're going to pay Dylan Brown. If it was like a Jerome Hughes, it's a different story, but Dylan Brown, I don't see him as your leading half.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I don't see the risk, and I think Jacko kind of said it makes no sense. And he also said SJ's earned the right to take his time deciding next year, and he'd love to see him go one more season. I've always got the fear with the older guys. It's like boxing. You don't want to see them do that one fight too many.
Yeah.
And that was always my concern. I feel at the moment they're not playing well. It feels like it was one season too many. But I don't want to see him end how it's going right now. So I'd be happy to see him back in 2025. Have a front rower that actually seems interested to be there in James Fisher-Harris, and then see what happens. I don't want to see him go out this year on like a real downer. What we saw with Simon.
Yeah, he's been playing busted, I think, even most of last year and more evidently this year. He's picked up that Achilles injury again. I think it may all come down to how he comes back from this injury. That could be crucial. And I mean, if it's another long rehab, like 4 weeks, I think might be a little bit conservative. I'm thinking it may actually be a bit longer than that. Who knows? Who knows how the team is going to go without him? But one thing is for sure: when Sean Johnson's playing well, we're going well. And like last year, career best year from him. I think a lot of people have got pretty short memories at the moment, perhaps. But if he's ready to go next year and somewhat fit, I think you keep him going for one more season, because this year, I mean, if it ends that way, it ends with an injury. It's not the way you want to see him go out.
No. And Jacko put a comment saying Plenty said the exact same thing before the 2023 season. Yeah, we got one right here hosting with me tonight.
I'll never live that down, will I?
Yeah. In the prediction show, he kind of said Sean was going to get dropped last year.
Don't you guys know what reverse psychology is, honestly?
Yeah. There were a lot. That's not just throwing shade at you. There were a lot. It happens every year. You're kind of like, I know, is it time for the old guys to hang it up? We're hearing that same stuff with Tohu now as well. So I
also played busted.
Yeah, I thought Tohu's last year would be this year anyway, before he announced the extension. I kind of thought it would be the last year, which is why it kind of felt it was an all-in type of season, which isn't really working. And Nicholas is here now asking who the B grade Richie is. Yeah, Richie.
Of course, he's on your Kirch.
He's just over. He doesn't want to talk about that Warriors game, but
so I get dragged into it.
Yeah, and Jagger said, "Yeah, be real. We would not have made the top 4 last year without SJ.
Absolutely 100%. Not. Career best season, comfortably his best season in first grade, and that's part of the whole thing about 2023 was we had 4 or 5 guys that had career best years last year, so it's no surprise that we finished the way we did.
Exactly. So we'll move on. This one might have a bit of discussion too. You were there in person, so you might be able to help. But Graham Ellerslie has discussed Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's sin binning for his tackle on Jaden Campbell and confirmed that the bunker got it right. He originally said when he was watching live, he thought it was the wrong call. But then after being explained by the officials their decision, he changed his mind. Because, and I quote, there was a chance that the tackle could have gone wrong, which is why he was sin-binned, because it may have gone wrong. I still think it's the wrong call. And I think if you wanted to punish a defender for a tackle having the ability to go wrong, would get sin-bins almost every tackle. You could even argue
every tackle.
Marcelo Montoya, when he almost scored in the 7th minute in that game, the they ruled that it didn't go high because it started at the shoulder, but it had the potential to go high. So is that a penalty try? It opens a can of
Where
worms.
do you draw the line? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like the refs and Graham are the only ones that are on that side. It feels like the fans, the old players, everyone in the media seems to be on the other side, saying like it was just a legitimate tackle. And I think Gallen actually came out quite fiery because he said, Ellerslie said they want to eliminate lifting tackles, and that's why they did it. And Gallen said, if that's the case, just say, okay, you can't lift in tackles anymore. Just say it and then make it the rule, as opposed to saying we want to restrict it, so some of them we're going to send to the bin, some of them are okay. I don't know.
Every tackle in State of Origin during the 80s and 90s is now illegal.
Yeah. I don't get it. Like, I would be fine with them saying he went above the horizontal slightly and they give a penalty there, but it should never have been a bin.
No,
but I thought it was I think even the penalty was a push too far, but I'm meeting them in the middle. Jacko said, does anyone know what Webster said at halftime as we got worse, not better in the second? Perhaps a bellyache break was necessary. I think I listened to an interview with Marcelo where he said Webby's never like blown up at them ever.
There was ever a time to, though. Jeez.
That would have been it. I don't know. Each to their own on how they coach. But yeah, I don't know. Bellyache yells at you if you've done something right as well. So it's there. And yeah, then Jacko also said Casey Badger ain't up to the job. Surely she can ref park footy. Yeah, like I've defended Badger from time to time here. But when she's the guy upstairs, she's so analytical and looks at every frame a lot more than everyone else, where they kind of try to let the game flow a bit more. Because if you break it down into super slow-mo, you can find anything.
But 100%.
yeah,
it's not played in slow motion.
I don't know. And I actually like this week, a lot of people complaining about it, but they weren't getting rebutted by, Warriors fans always blaming the ref, because this had nothing to do with the result. If it was like a one try loss, you could have argued it, but the game was over at that point. It felt like they were just sticking it in one more time on poor Warriors fans having to watch. So we'll move on. The last one, we talked about it a bit before we went live. Sean Johnson made a post on social media addressing some fans who had sent him messages of varying degrees of venom. I've actually got his actual whole comment, so I'll read it out and then we'll just discuss it. But he said, just like you, I see the comments, and damn, some of you are savage. If you're one of those who find comfort in slamming others online, I hope everything's okay. Your words don't carry weight this time around, but they could for the next person you choose to spew your negativity on. So think before you type. On the other hand, to those who have checked in and sent messages, I appreciate it. Perspective is key. I'm at a stage where 80 minutes doesn't define me like it once did. Still get to live a pretty cool life with the best people in it. Short Ball Johnson, which is something they were calling him, won't be on the field for a bit. I'm frustrated, but we'll be doing everything to get back to the level I know I can. So we talked about it a bit, about we don't agree with the idiots that go and say horrible things. It's completely off topic, but there's some scammer on one of the Warriors Facebook pages that did a fake news story that Andrew Webster's son had drowned in a pool.
What?
Out of nowhere. It was quickly removed, but it was there. But like I said to you, I'm very passionate. I say horrible things about this team when they're not playing well, but I don't go on to like an Instagram or something and personally message a player. And that is, I got to meet some of them with you now. They're a lot bigger than me. I don't want to do that.
They are.
And my social media has my name and my face on it. So I wouldn't choose to do that anyway. But you're also a guy like Sean's been around a long time. He knows those are going to come. So maybe don't look. But yeah, Meet and don't look, but idiots shouldn't be abusing everyone. Yeah, it's hard. I'm sitting on the fence. Just be nice to people.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's yeah, you're right. It's never personal. Like we get upset at players, we get angry at players because of the performance and that sort of thing, and we might call them out on our shows, what have you. But yeah, like again, it's never personal. Like we've had the pleasure of getting to know a lot of the guys as well, and it really humanizes a lot of it as well. Someone that we're particularly close to, Ed Cozzy, you know, he's copped heaps on from everyone the last three probably 2 or 3 years that he's been in first grade, and yeah, it like you can talk to him and you see the human side of these players, and you know they react the same way as when we get trolls and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's bang out of order. It shouldn't happen. But yeah, if you don't want to be exposed to it, just get off social media for a while. I mean, it's not a prerequisite that you're on social media. So yeah, he's experienced enough. He does have a bit of history of sort of reacting to the media and to social media posts as well. So he probably needs to, yeah, maybe when times are getting tough, just to get off it for a little bit, and spend time with his family and that sort of thing. Like as he said in his post, that 80 minutes on the field doesn't define him anymore, and nor should it. He's getting towards the end of his career. He doesn't really have too much more to prove. He's been a loyal servant of the club. So yeah.
I had an interesting thing to say, and then I saw Bjorn's comment and I lost all track. I think it adds, there it is. I found it again. It adds fuel to the fire. Like he did that post, the media picked it up. It's even Australian media picked it up.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes encourage people to keep going. I did see some news that some kid in Australia had been charged because they sent a text message to the ref Andrew G, an abusive text, and they've been charged for like abuse via electronic device or something. So
it's
a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah,
like I don't understand
very real. It's a very real thing. Like you can't just get on there and abuse people on social media. People think they get away with it by having faceless and nameless profiles where they sit there and just hurl abuse at people. And it's just like really sort of cowardly stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, thought I'd put it in there for interest. Before we move on to signings, Bjorn said, if I'm not too busy this week, I should go into Warriors training and give them some tips. That would not help anybody. Unfortunately,
we'd be even more penalised. We'd have even more sin bins. Half the players would be suspended for the rest of the year.
There'd be sin bins that were worth it, though. That's the main thing.
Cheap shots would go up 110%.
Yeah. Jacko said people committed suicide over social media BS, but what can be done about it? Yeah, they're trying to catch up with technology now, where they are trying to stop that stuff. And yeah, I always just say, like, I have this show, I have my writing where I criticize the team. I've never like gone at a player personally because there's no need. If you mentioned Kossi, if Kossi has a bad game, I'll say he had a bad game. Doesn't make him a bad person. And
top fella. Shout out, Ed.
Yeah. And Jagger said stiff arms. I was quite a fan of the shoulder charge with no arms. And fish hooks and things like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if they do fish hooks anymore. There's too many cameras, but yeah. Never a biter though. I didn't do the James Graham. I wasn't a biter. So so we'll move on to signings. We only had 3. So Dragons did officially confirm Damien Cook on a 2-year deal. There was some media from Hornby where he said basically that Cook didn't want to go, but it was kind of a cap issue. So he was kind of pushed out of the Rabbits. And then Cook came out and said...
Not wanting to go to the Dragons?
Yeah, I could. But then Cook came out and said that, he doesn't want to leave, but he's happy to go to the Dragons. And then Bennett has also said that he didn't tell Cook to go, and it's all everyone seems.
None of it sounds convincing. None of it sounds convincing at all.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know who their backup hooker is right now. Right.
South Sydney.
Yeah.
Is it Mamazulis?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know if he will be the guy to be the dominant 9. They've already said they're not going to go after a guy like Brandon Smith, who potentially might be out of a job at the end of the year.
Sure, they're not.
So we'll see. And then Tigers extended Adam Dowie, or however he tells us to pronounce it now, on a 1-year deal. So it's good. He's been injured a lot. Give him the 1 year to show that he can stay healthy, and then we'll talk bigger figures. Had a great return in the weekend. And then nothing official yet, but Elliot Whitehead from the Raiders is apparently signed on to join the Catalan Dragons in 2025. It's kind of at the right time of his year, and it's not bad to go to France and enjoy a working holiday.
Yep.
So, nothing too much. But then we go into injuries. There were heaps. I've only done 4. So Sean Johnson's the big one, mate. 4 weeks Achilles tendon injury, same Achilles that was bothering him at the beginning of the year. Jaden Campbell might be out for only a week with a hand fracture that he got at the beginning of that game in the Warriors.
Wish he was out last week.
Yeah. Bulldog Connor Tracy and Dolphin Jack Bostock are missing this week with HIA protocol. And then announced today, Nick Meaney's out of the Storm game with a calf injury. So most of them are not that bad. Sean's the big one. May have solved a few headaches with a lot of people calling for his head. He now gets dropped because of the injury. But hopefully, I don't know if you want to go to length. You sent us a thing today from a guy in the medical industry talking about Sean and his injuries and about how 100% is not actually an option anymore at his age.
No.
And it's about like working around the injury as opposed to it recovering. Which is why you're seeing things like he's not goal kicking anymore. He's doing that one type of kick all the time. It's things.
It put a lot of things into perspective, didn't it? And he's essentially on borrowed time. His body's barely just holding together. So I mean, and he's always going to play. But I think we just have to accept that if he carries on next year as well, he's going to be playing injured again.
Yeah. So hopefully he gets back to a good enough level where he can contribute. That's all I can say. We'll move on. Naughty Boys. Only one. Junior Ponga from the Roosters. 4 weeks for his grade 2 reckless high tackle. It was a bit of a beauty. I was a fan. He definitely made him know he was there with the tackle. Very reckless. I know Andrew Johns came out and said it should have been more than 4. I'm happy with 4 myself. It wasn't malicious. It was just reckless. I think going longer than 4 is when it's a direct, I'm trying to hurt this guy, not a sticking an arm out in an instinct type of thing. But your take on it, I know you're a bit more level-headed than me with that stuff.
I'll be honest, I haven't actually seen it because this game was straight after our game, and I didn't get to see it in the Saturday night game. So I probably can't really comment on that, but
it's just a good clothesline. It was nice.
So in that case, he should have been 8 weeks if you think it was just a good hit.
Come on. So that's it. We'll move into the round. Starting on Friday, the Storm defeating the Dolphins 30-24. Richard's not here, so I guess I'm naming these bloody things. We'll watch me butcher everyone's name. 5 tries to the Storm. Ryan Pappenhausen, Tyron Wishart, Jerome Hughes, Will Warbrook, and Josh King. 4 for the Dolphins, Kenneth Bromwich, Johan Aiken, Trifula, and Jermaine Isako. So I'll start with my thoughts on the Storm. I thought it was pretty even. Hard to split these guys stat-wise, but the Storm just stayed the course, made the most of a few extra opportunities that they had. Nothing flashy, but a well-deserved win, and also good to see Ryan Pappenhausen back and get through the match. Your thoughts on the Dolphins and the Storm, in whatever order you want. All right, we'll go loosey-goosey tonight.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining game. Seems like all the Dolphins games this year have been quite entertaining. They always seem to be tight, high-scoring affairs. This one was the same. They pushed the Storm all the way, probably a bit unlucky at the end. Some dubious decisions at the end. It could have gone into extra time. But, yeah, I think every time that the Dolphins looked like coming back, the Storm just had an extra gear and they just had a little bit too much class for them. But, yeah, they're kind of proving that they are the real deal this year, the Dolphins. Yeah, definitely playing like a top 8 side.
Yeah, I thought it was a tough loss for the Dolphins, but they did play well. Went toe-to-toe with one of the juggernauts of the NRL and almost got the win. Just needed to ice a few moments and tighten that defense. But, yeah, it's a good footy side that I had no faith in this year. I expected what we saw last year out of them. So proving me wrong. Bjorn said game of the round. Yeah, I'd have to say it probably was. And I know you didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I picked Jerome Hughes as my player. I just thought he was just a menace like he was last week against us.
Yeah, Will Warbrick has been very good for them as well. He's really strong on the weekend. A big presence out there on the wing.
Right, so we'll move to the next game, and we can take our time. The Titans defeating the Warriors 66-6. Titans got 11 tries. Khan Pereira got 4 of them. Bo Fuma got 1. Chris Randall got 1. Keenan Palacia got 1. Sam Verrills, Keno Kinney, Jaden Campbell, and then Keno Kinney again. Tamati Martin got 1 try for the Warriors. Fantastic effort from the Titans. Didn't have much resistance, but refused to get sucked down to the Warriors level here. Attack looked crisp, which we've come to expect from them. They're always a very good attacking side, but they showed a big improvement defensively. Admittedly, there wasn't a lot thrown at them, but we've seen them at times, even against poor teams, leaking 2 or 3 tries at ease. I'm not expecting the Titans to do this again. But they need to build on this performance. Let's get your thoughts on the Titans before we both stick into the Warriors.
Oh, yeah, look, the Titans just absolutely put us to the sword. Jaden Campbell wouldn't be able to kick 11 from 11 again in his life, yet he did it on Saturday. Of course he did. Look, they just took every opportunity. They have speed to burn out wide, and they just absolutely scorched us. We couldn't handle them. It didn't help that some of the worst missed tackles, one-on-one misses I think I've ever seen. Probably gifted them a few tries, but boy, oh boy. I mean, again, I don't know if this says more about the Titans or more about us. We threw absolutely nothing at them. Especially in attack, it was just boring, predictable sort of stuff. And yeah, they took all their opportunities. It was 0-0 after about 15 minutes. That's the funny thing. They got that first try, and there was that happened sort of right in front of us, that first try. And then Khan Pereira was able to run the ball all the way around behind the sticks. And no one had the urgency to stop him. And I'm thinking, that's not a good sign. And it was just terrible from there. It was. Mark is the new Nostradamus, by the way. When it was 24-0 and they got the ball back with 30 seconds to go before halftime, he goes, they'll score here. It'll be 30-0, you watch. And sure enough, it happened. So, yeah.
He's just such a negative guy. So negative.
Exactly. It was me, Mark, and Richie Morgan just sitting there in absolute disbelief. I don't know, but geez, conceding 11 tries is just woeful. And I mean, who legitimately saw this coming? Like legitimately saw the magnitude. You and I spoke before we went on air. We could have seen a loss coming, but not a 60-point drubbing. Before we went on, I said I could have seen an 18-12 loss coming because the Titans have had the edge over the Warriors in recent years. We did win the Gold Coast last year, but we lost on Anzac Day. We had, Matt Lodge's last game with the club, you remember? I was at that as well. They're two of the worst games I've ever been to. Yeah.
So they have had times like that, but yeah, I don't know what you can really say. Before we went on, I said to you, opposite to Hammer with his negativity. At halftime, I was like, we can still win this. 30-0, fine, we can do it. Titans fade in the second half, and then that first try in the second half from the intercept, I was like, okay, no, we're done. But yeah, there for me, it looked like there was a severe lack of heart and desire. It felt like they weren't really doing anything. Bjorn mentioned it as well, like that first try with the players not even bothering trying to stop him from getting other posts. And yeah, some horrible defense from some of the guys. Like Jazz had just come on, nice and healthy, got run over by Chris Randall, which no one runs over Jazz. Not the only one. There were a lot of them out there that just did it. And then I think the stats for Adden, he had like 8 runs. He's usually done 8 runs in the first 20 minutes of a game.
Yeah. It's just everyone was off. It was a real attitude thing.
There was no one you could put out.
Yeah. They were bloody on holidays of the Gold Coast enjoying the warm weather.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have been going at Sean, but
what can he do?
There's not much you can do when no one in the forwards is doing anything. Sean isn't good at playing on the back foot. That's not a lot of halves are, to be fair. So it didn't help there.
Yeah, sorry. Admittedly, he just kept doing the same play, though, turning the ball inside to Murata. Like, it seemed like we'd run out of ideas. He'd turn inside to Murata, who would run straight back into the defense.
Yeah.
And then we resorted back to that barge over stuff, that never works because it's first grade footy.
Yeah, and Bjorn asked if Paul was in the crowd. No, Paul...
Was he?
No, he wasn't. So we can't blame him, but he did send a message to me and Richie after the game asking if we were okay.
Some poor buggers did fly over from NZ. Some of the, like Maria was there. Eno was there. Geez. I mean, it's bad enough driving from Brisbane to the Gold Coast to watch that for an hour, but yeah, poor buggers.
Yeah, and Jacko said, AFB's sulking, don't know why, maybe he wants an early release. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him at the moment, because he did the stand down, came back and had a great game and looked like he was back. And then it just seems to be, depending on his mood, depends on if he wants to come or not. But he wasn't the only one. As you said, no one came. So I can't pinpoint him exactly. If he had been the only guy and he'd run 200 meters, they're still losing that game, right? So it's not just him, but it's a dark day for the club.
The worst.
There's a lot to work on if they dream to make the 8. My question is kind of around that Richard answered. We're on different sides of the camp. I still think they can make the 8, but that's the ever-loving optimist in me. But yeah, they basically, I think they said they need to, they can only lose one more game or something.
6 from 9, I think I heard, would
6 from 9.
get us into the 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just on the AFB thing, there is a little bit of BS floating around about AFB not being at the post-match function. He wasn't there, but he wasn't there for a legitimate reason, and the same reason that Chance had to leave early from the post-match function as well. So that's all just nonsense. The rest of the team was there as well. They all fronted up. So I'll just put that to bed.
Yeah, and Jacko said AFB's on huge coin and is meant to be a leader. We actually discussed this off air about might have been yesterday or the day before, about leaders. And I said, I'm coming into it from a player point of view. AFB's gone at the end of the year, so I don't see him as a leader anymore because he's leaving.
No.
And Tohu is meant to be the leader, but he's quiet. The leader of this Warriors team is Mitch Barnett right now. And Mitch Barnett wasn't there in the weekend. There was all the talk that some people I asked you, but you said you weren't in the right position. But there was a lot of bickering behind the goalposts, which they spent a lot of time behind there, to be fair. But a lot of bickering between the team, which isn't a good look. But I feel if Barnett was there, they wouldn't be doing it. feel like he's there to like
sort of pull your heads in, boys.
pull
Come
your
on,
heads in.
you know.
We've got
Yep.
shit to do.
Yep.
And I feel like there's no one else in there that commands that respect, which is huge credit to him because he was never known as a leader at the Knights. But I feel that's what they're lacking. They're lacking leadership. I know people have been saying, like, get rid of Tohu as captain and that. I don't think that's the issue. You can be a leader without being captain. But a few of those other boys need to step up. Without guys like Barnett, Capewell, I guess, to an extent when he's on the field, perhaps has got a leadership quality there. But your Marauders and that, I suppose when you look at the rest of them, you've got like Ford, who's very young. So in your pack,
yeah, he's quietly spoken fellow as well.
Yeah, so they need like maybe a Murata or someone to actually
Fisher Harris next year will
Fisher Harris will
bring a
fill
voice
that
as
hole.
well. Yeah, for sure.
And and Jacko said good chance Barnett will be captain next season.
Good choice.
I think when they have a captain, it's either going to be Barnett or Fisher Harris. Those are the two in my eyes because Fisher's already Kiwis captain. They might decide they don't want to go with someone straight into the club, but we've seen them do that before with Pricey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Worked the charm.
And he's not a guy, a show pony coming in that gets that honor. He is, a legitimate tough guy, leads his country, will lead up front. So I'd be happy to see him take it. But yeah, Barnett's done nothing but impress me because I was kind of worried when he signed originally because he is... Like he was known for being the thug, doing the Brad stuff.
Yeah, he got sent off for the Knights for that elbow to the head, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's done nothing like that since he's joined us. So that was just the Knights being a bad influence. But yeah, we're talking for hours about this game. We'll put it to bed.
Yeah.
I picked Cam Pereira as my player. A lot of them played well, but his first ever hat trick turned into his first ever 4-try haul. So I had to go with him. Next game you didn't get to see because you were enjoying the only thing the Warriors turned up to, which was their post-match. So Roosters defeating the Bulldogs 26-8, 4-2. The Roosters, they scored through Dominic Young, Nat Butcher, Terrell May, and Blake Steep. And then Doggies, Jermaine Salmon, and Jarrell Skelton scored. So you can just nod, I guess. I'll go through my notes. But it was a strong effort from the Roosters in horrible conditions, which saw the errors creep up in their game. But they just piled on the pressure on the Bulldogs and refused to let them get into the contest. Solid effort from the Roosters, and they're starting to build momentum, I think. And then for the Doggies, they can't be accused of not trying. They were just a step down compared to their opposition. Need a bit more help in the middle, which we kind of talked about earlier about Emre. And they lack that Adokar spark. But they're building a decent side. I think this Bulldogs team is going to become a finals threat like in 2025. And my player to stand out was Terrell May. Biased because he's a prop, but he played 80 minutes. He played the whole game. Was a massive difference in the middle. But you see, you didn't get to see this game, but do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Bulldog, I agree with what you're saying about the Bulldogs. They're competing and they're beating the sides that they probably should, but when they come up against the contenders, I think they're just a little bit short there. But Roosters are a quality side. We've got the job done. So yeah, they'll march on. They'll be a contender as they always are. But yeah, I agree. Bulldogs next year will be a big year for them. I think 25.
Yeah. Then the final game on Saturday was the Rabbits defeating the Seagulls 14-0. So easy here. We got 3 tries. Richie Kenner, Jai Gray, and Keon Kolomatangi scored. Cody Walker had a shocker, 1 from 3 at conversions. Seagulls, nothing. So at least we were better than them. We got 1 try. So I'll go that.
It was a 66 on the other side.
Yeah. It was a tight win and probably not that convincing, but the Rabbitohs have shown a lot of improvement from where they were like 5 weeks ago. Their forwards dominated the middle. Kolomatangi getting moved up front has been a masterstroke. Apparently Wayne Bennett gave that idea to the interim coach right now, apparently. Ben Hornby came out and said Wayne Bennett told him you should move this kid here. and it's worked wonders. And I thought Cody Walker didn't have his best game, but he was supported by the likes of Damien Cook, who had probably his best game this year, and Kolomatangi, again, it was a monster. He got like 200 and something running meters up front. Nothing to write home about, but a month ago, telling them they beat Manly 14-0, they would have taken it, everything they could. So, yeah, definite improvement from the Rabbits, and they did it without their superstar. So, yeah, well done to them. You didn't see this game either, did you?
I didn't see it, but it's just interesting, isn't it? The sort of the turn of fortunes of these two sides. The Rabbitohs couldn't buy a win at the start of the year. Now they're starting to build into something, and then the Sea Eagles have sort of been struggling a bit lately. And yeah,
Rabbits are getting close to overtaking us on the ladder. I know we'll show the ladder later, but they're 1 point behind right now. So from wooden spoon to being 2 points clear of the bottom three teams. It's not bad. But yeah, for Manly, I thought they just struggled without their origin stars, without DCE directing their attack. They couldn't ask any questions. They made too many errors, gave away too many penalties, and they'll just be waiting to hope that their players get through tonight unscathed. And then, yeah, I cheated. I picked Kolomatangi as my player. He was just a beast. He's a player I'd take. But any more thoughts on that before we get into the last game?
Nah, it looked like a bit of a dour contest, so I'm not that disappointed that I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, and then the multi-breaker for me. I had a Saturday, Sunday multi. Basically every game bar the Warriors game I picked, and I got every game right bar this one and the Warriors game. So this killed my multi with the Tigers wiping the floor with the Raiders, 48-24. 8 tries to 4. The Tigers, they got a double through Luke Galvin, Luke Lilly, Sione Fainu, Jerome Buller, Stefano, Coruscant, and Dewey. And then, yeah, for the Raiders, Danny Levi, Nick Kotrick, KO Weeks, and Ethan Strange. Great effort from the Tigers here. I'm the little Tigers fan on the show. But they bullied the Raiders. The return of Galvin and Dewey added some X factor. Very impressive display. And if they can keep close to this level, they should keep the wooden spoon at arm's length, which, is their goal. That's basically all you can hope for. Get away from that bloody spoon that you've looked after. And then for the Raiders, just a lot of errors from them. It stopped them getting within reach of the Tigers. They did iron out some kinks in that second half. Went for a bit of a run where it looked like they were going to just upset the poor Tigers when they'd done so well.
Yeah.
But it was just too little too late. A poor display from them, and they were very lucky that the Warriors delivered what they did. Otherwise, they would have been the worst team this round.
Took the pressure off. Yeah.
They took the pressure off them. And yeah, I picked Galvin as my player. But your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it was good to see the Tigers just coming out, and it looked like they were enjoying their footy. Hopefully, Galvatron, as I call him, sticks around in the Tigers jersey.
He seems all in now.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago, wanting to walk out immediately, he was talking about he can't wait till he gets to work with Jerome, and that he wants Stefano to stay with them. And
I've got a couple of mates that are really big Tigers fans, long suffering. So I always like sort of keep an eye on the Tigers, see how they're going, and hopefully it's behold Galvatron. But yeah, that they were good. The only thing was I was a little bit worried about them before halftime because they had all the possession and they had all the momentum in that first half, and it was only 12-2 or 12-0, and they got that try right before halftime, I think, to make it 18. Like that's the bare minimum they should have been, because you could just see the Raiders are a funny sort of a team, and they got points in them, and they can score points quickly, as we saw in that burst when they had player in the sin bin, admittedly, but they got themselves right back in the game, and you're thinking, oh, surely they're not going to come back and get the poor old Tigers here. But yeah, good afternoon for them. It's been a long time, apparently 4 years since they had won at Campbelltown. If you can, well, I can believe that because they're the Tigers. But yeah,
two wins in a row as well.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time they went back to back
at their two spiritual homes, I suppose. Yeah, Leichhardt and Campbelltown. So yeah, good to see. good to see.
Yeah, and Jacko said there was BS. Buzz was doing his thing about the Galvin. Yeah, I think they all came out and said Buzz was just talking rubbish again. Which he's known to do from time to time. Simon actually asked you about your mates that were Tigers fans. Were they Magpies or Balmain?
Balmain through and through. I do actually. Most of the West Tigers fans that I know were all Balmain diehards. Although I do work with a bloke who was dyed in the wool Magpies.
Yeah,
used to go and watch them back in the day, and so I think I don't know, it's something about that club and the Magpies and the Tigers. They just can't get on, and I think that was a big part of the reason why they've struggled for so long.
Yeah, and Bjorn's tested me now, saying he thought the Tigers won back-to-back earlier this year. They probably did.
They did, yeah. Round they beat the Sharks, and then they beat, was it Parramatta? I think
Might have been.
Easter? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it wasn't that long ago. Shut up, Bjorn. Leave me alone. I'm still recovering from the
Bjorn's
Warriors.
on the money. He's on the money, yeah.
And Balmain was more, I think, the popular team in my family as well. I remember the first jersey I ever had was a Balmain Tigers jersey that my granddad gave me.
The old Phillips one?
Yeah. So I got pictures of me. I went to Japan on like an exchange, and I've got. I think I sent you guys a picture once of me running around.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Me running around as like an 11-year-old against all these Japanese tiny kids.
Roach.
Yeah, with my Balmain shirt on.
Did you have big shoulder pads as well, like they used to wear back in the day?
But yeah, feeling like Jonah running around over those guys. But so that was the round. Very disappointing. I hated it all. So we'll look at the ladder. If I can bring it up, we know that I'm no good at zooming in, so you have to put up with it. Not a lot of changes. The top three are still the same: Melbourne, Penrith, and Sharks. Roosters have moved into the top four now, with the Dolphins going down to fifth. Bulldogs have stayed where they are at sixth, and then the Broncos and Cowboys have moved into the 8 at 7th and 8th after the bye. And then the bottom, Dragons have moved up to 9th. Raiders have gone down to 10th. Manly down to 11th. Newcastle up to 12th. Warriors down to 13th. Rabbits have stayed the same at 14th. Titans moved up from last place to 15th. Tigers, despite the win, stayed where they were at 16th. And then Parramatta went dead last due to how well the Tigers went. Basically, I think Mark was talking about, wasn't he, in our chat, saying like they need this many points more to move people down. But I can admit it's not the ladder I expected at this time of year.
No.
And Jacko said ladder's scary. He said we can somehow sneak into the finals. I'll admit it unlikely, but we could also slide to wooden spoon.
Yeah, double-edged sword, isn't it? I think it was Jacko that asked the question before as well. If we make the 8, who drops out? And looking at that, for me, the most obvious choice would be the Cowboys. But I also, the nature of the Dolphins and the way that they've been involved in all these close games, I think they could find themselves slipping out of the 8 as well, or maybe even the Bulldogs. None of those teams are locks. So I think if we get in, it could be expensive, one of those teams.
Those are the three I could understand dropping out. Doggies, Cowboys are like the least deserving in the 8 with how they've played this year.
They're only in because of the bye.
Because of the bye. Bulldogs, as we've seen, like you said, they're beating who they should beat, but when they're playing against, proper top 8 teams, they're losing. And the Dolphins, I've still got in the back of my head that they're going to slide because that's what they did last year. And it's still really tight. Like, we're 3 points out of the 8, 3 points from last. We're like right in that horrible spot. And still got 2 buys up the sleeve. Got a game against the Tigers. Not that means much, but
mate, the Mike Doreen Cup. Don't you forget it.
Oh, but they might beat us with how they're going. We don't know.
They might win it for the first time.
Yeah. So there's still a lot of moving and shaking, I think. I kind of said Warriors up, still had a chance of the 8, but Rabbits could also be there if they keep going on the run. You never know. So it's hard to say. So we'll move on to the tipping comp.
Yep.
Hard to see there, but Simon, you're watching. You're still in the lead. Not a good round for anyone. most people got 3. Admittedly, there was only it was 5 games, right? 1, 2, 3, 5 games. Yeah. So the best score was Richard. Actually, Richie got 4 because he picked the Tigers. And I think he went against me because I went Raiders and he said I'm going to go Tigers then. So he pulled that one out. But yeah, Simon's still at the top. Rocking Horse Road is second. I'm holding on with dear life at third. ACT Hellcat is fourth. Shuddy FC fifth. Richie is sixth. And Bjorn, you're seventh. And I think, as I told you, I think he's given up. But Hammer is down in 12th.
He's a supposed expert.
Yeah. He got 1, which I think means he didn't enter because they pick away teams.
Yeah, right.
And Jono and the Punisher, they started well and then gave up like after round 2. So yeah. I don't know. And before we move on, Jacko said he thinks Broncos could slip because they don't look great or overly happy at the moment. Yeah, I'm still waiting for them to jump back. When they get like Walsh and Reynolds back
after Origin, yeah, just as long as we spank them this weekend.
Yeah, so we'll move into questions. We've kind of answered all the questions, which always happens when Paul's not here. But I've got questions from Paul. Paul actually sent me a question for us, and Richard sent his question. I'll say what my question to Richard is first because I got his answer. But I said the Warriors game was shocking, probably up there as one of the worst defeats. What will it take for them to turn things around and make the finals? And then Richard has said, I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I think the season is pretty much not salvageable in terms of making finals. I just want to see no repeats of last weekend. Show the heart and effort we saw against the Panthers, Dolphins, and Cowboys and see where that gets them and at least give them a base to build off going forward. So I still think they're going to make the finals. I'm still damn sure. I'm going for it. I'm going all in. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think they're going to get some wins together. When on the show next week, if I'm talking about another horrific loss against the Broncos, I may sway, but what do you reckon?
It really all comes down to this weekend. And if we can see any kind of response from the guys, I mean, if we turn out and get pounded by, let's face it, the massively understrength Broncos, we're done and dusted. I know Hammer's a bit the same as Rich. I think he's put a line through them as well. I'm a little bit more in your side of things. I just have like that little glimmer of hope. I mean, I don't like to sort of completely write off the season. There's still plenty of footy to be played. We're going to need to win the majority of games. We've done it before. We used to come home with a wet sail back in the Cleary days. It was a bit of a hallmark of ours.
Yeah.
But it's a big ask to turn around a 60-point shellacking. But, yeah, we've got to see a change in attitude. And, yeah, we've got to do it without SJ. So, yeah, if we can continue the form that we showed in that 3-game period from starting at Magic Round, then we're a chance. But yeah, boy, oh boy, it's a big good turnaround if you win after getting done by 60.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I don't give him a shout out on this show most of the time, but Will from This Warriors Life, he had the stat that every time the Warriors are being like smashed in
we've got a bit of a bounce back, haven't we?
They win the next game, regardless of who they're playing. If they're playing a good team, a bad team, they always bounce back. So I'm holding on to that for this week.
We won after Anzac Day when we lost 70-10. We won the next week. We beat the Raiders in Golden Point. I know because I was there. That's right. Okay.
So hopefully that stat works as well. But yeah, you're always in trouble once you start talking about the mathematics, like how Jacko said. You need 7 wins to make the finals out of 9 games left. Once you're talking about how many games you need to win out of what's left, you're in trouble.
Let's just take it 1 week at a time. Let's just win this week first.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I'm always going to be rose tinted until I know there's no chance. Once I know there's absolutely, they can win every game and still not make it, then I rule it out. But you always got a fighter's chance getting that knockout. So I'm hoping for the best. Richie's question, he said there was some pretty telling body language from the Warriors on the weekend. He was worried about what he was seeing from AFB. do we think that he's still all in for 2024, or has he checked out? I think we talked about it a little bit. I'm still on the fence. I think it depends on his mood on the day. Like some days when he wants to play, he plays, and then if he doesn't, he doesn't, and that's not what we need. But the Sharks the Sharks might be able to lure him. They've only got 4 days left
before June 30.
Yeah, to get him. Yeah. So if he's still here next week, he ain't going nowhere. So yeah, what do you reckon? You were there in person, so you could see it a bit better. I don't know if you watch the props all day like I do, but
look, it's got to be hard, like knowing that you're out the door at the end of the season and you're going to a team that's traveling pretty well like the Sharks, and then especially when the Warriors are going so bad. That's why I really hate those signing 12 months out. Because it's like as much as you say, like he's a professional and he'll stick to the task. I mean, how can you fully be focused on that when you know you're heading back to Sydney next year? So, I think there was a big response from him because he got dropped for the Dolphins game because obviously because of the team related sanction that was handed down because he missed the Magic Round team song. He missed the Dolphins game, came back against the Cowboys, had a big game because he had a point to prove. And, but, I mean, as we said, we just got completely rolled on the weekend. No one played well. So it's a bit hard to say that he was any worse than anyone else.
Yeah, I think this would
I don't know. It's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, he actually made a good point. He said if it depends on his mood on the day, he ain't all in. Yeah,
no,
that's actually a fair point. And he said James Maloney did similar in the last year.
Yeah, that's the classic example. James Maloney, I mean, he basically phoned it in for the second half of that 2012 season when we just started losing.
Yeah.
And there you go.
But yeah, I wouldn't, if I was, I know we're going to talk about it soon with team naming, but I don't know if Webby, I don't know how to sound it without sounding like an ass. I don't think he's got the balls to make the big call to go AFB, we're dropping you. Like he stood him down for, missing that team song, but going like, you're shitting the bed. I want you out. I'm going to bring in like Zion or someone because Zion's just my favorite word.
Yeah.
But I feel like he won't do that. There was an interview I listened to talking to Richard Agar, and the radio host was kind of trying to get something out of him, saying like, the team that you've named for this week, there's no punishment to anyone for playing as badly as they did last week. And he was like, I don't get what you mean. There are changes, like there's an injury change and a replacement due to a sim
forced changes.
Or a banned player back. Nothing else has changed, so there's no statement from like saying we don't accept this. But yeah. And then Bjorn also said a good point. James Fisher is still putting in for the Panthers, so not sure it always. It comes down to the character of the person, as Jacko said. A guy like Jerome Luai as well. You can't say Jerome is, not giving his all for the Panthers, knowing he's going to be a Tiger.
It makes a difference when you're in a strong team and you still
does help when you're winning.
Yeah,
does help when you're still winning.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of a guy in a team not going well that's going somewhere else that's still delivering, but I can't think of one right now. Because a lot of the guys in the lower grades, I was going to say Papali'i for the Tigers, but he's injured and he hasn't been playing well. But,
no.
So it's not a good point. So the last question before we move on is Paul's. He said, is it more painful to have a big loss against the bottom team or to lose a final, like a finals match? I feel for me, finals, because
it's final. That's it. That's your season over.
Yeah, you lose to the Titans like we did. Say they make the 8 and they get to like the preliminary final somehow. You're not going to remember that 66-6 loss. But like what happened against the Broncos last year, that hurt more than anything. That hurt more than the 66-6 for me.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Because your season's over and that. So for me, that's what it's losing in the final. But if they don't make the finals, then yeah, this is the one.
We're going to be talking about this for years to come. Like whenever we talk about the Warriors' worst ever losses, it's up there level pegging with that Anzac Day 70-10 for sure.
I feel it's worse because of who you played. Yeah.
I mean that's what kept haunting me. It's like we lose 66-6 to Penrith or the Storm, and you go, oh yeah, they're one of the best teams. But to the Titans, who are on the bottom of the table, that's what probably hurt the most for me.
Yeah, and yeah, Simon said he thinks we're right about losing a final would be worse than losing to the Titans mid-season. Yeah, I think the only way the season game would be if it was like last round. You need the win to make the finals.
That's been us so many times as well.
It has happened to us before. But yeah, so we'll move on to the rest of the round. Before we talk about round 17, New South Wales is tonight. It's kind of one-sided, I think, on the show tonight. But who are you picking?
Yeah. Oh, mate, Queensland, 100%. Yeah.
I'm going Queensland as well.
That's where I live. That's where I grew up. So, yeah, it's always Queensland for me, mate.
So, yeah, I'm going with them too. I think I said before the campaign started it would be a 3-0.
It'll be close. I think tonight's game will be a lot closer. I'll say Queensland by 2.
Yeah. But, yeah, a win's a win. I just need the hammer to score. My bet is hammer to score and Queensland to win. Yeah, and then TAB over here did if you place an anytime try scorer bet down and get it wrong, they'll refund your money in a free bet. So I think I put $5 on Reece Walsh. So we'll see.
He's
it's like hammer Reece Walsh. He's going to get targeted, but that might give him a space to do some magic. So we'll see. So we'll move on. Warriors versus Broncos is the Warriors game this week. Let's see. Can I make this bigger? Oh, yeah. I'm almost getting good at this. So we'll go through the Warriors team first, discuss it, and then go over the Broncos. So Warriors, Chance at fullback, Dallin and Marcelo on the wings, RTS and Pompey in the centres, Chanel and Tamati in the halves, Adam Fanua-Blake, Wade Egan, Jackson Ford front row, Marata Niukore, Mitch Barnett in the edge, Tohu Harris at lock, then Freddie Lussick, Dylan Walker, Jazz Tavanga, and Kurt Capewell as our bench. What's your thoughts on the team? I know you're used to my Tuesday night rants in the chat, but what do you expected anything different or?
Look, I would have picked a different team, but it's what I expected. He's been super conservative with his team choices, and it's almost like I think someone said it. I think it might have been TWL said this as well. Like it's almost like it's a team list of a team that won 66-6.
Yeah,
like minimal changes, only forced changes. For me, Tane to a pick, he's got to be in there somewhere. He just adds spark. Like he played one of the great Warriors games in Magic Round. Almost single-handedly won the game for us. For me, I would have had him in there at fullback. I would have moved Chance to center, RTS to the wing. I guess maybe Montoya could have a spell. CHT and Tomato Martin in the halves. Hey, like we basically won 3 games with those guys in the halves. Oh, well, the Magic Round had Chance in the halves, but the 2 of the 3 wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think obviously me and Webby are on different wavelengths, and I don't like to doubt Webby because it's still in Webby we trust, right? Still just hanging in there. Lussick on the bench. I wouldn't have Lussick on the bench. I would have had it. Well, maybe Tane comes in as my 14, someone who can fill in, and I'd like to see Mawala Graham-Telfer get another run somewhere in the back line. He's played a lot of wing, so maybe he comes in on a wing as well. He was outstanding on debut against the Dolphins, so for Warriors debut against the Dolphins. So not the team I would have picked, and I think there needed to be a response from the coaching staff as well after a shellacking like that. But who knows? There may still be changes with the extended bench. Who knows?
Yeah. So mine, I had Chanel Tamati as my halves. I had Roger move to the wing, Mawala move into center, Tane at 14. That was kind of mine.
Yep.
I like Moala. I thought he did well. Roger, I was really confident about him as centre. I think on your guys' prediction show, I said he'd be Dally M centre of the year. And I think him at centre is a complete bust. We'll see.
I'd agree. Yeah.
This week if he gets some ball at what he can do, because a lot of it has been he hasn't been getting ball on that left edge when he was healthy. But all the games everyone talked about him playing well were games he ended up playing fullback or played on the wing. So it's, because I think the Rabbits, he was on the wing for the whole game.
Yes. Yep.
So centre's not really working for him. And now I don't know why I'm doing that because we're still going to talk about the Broncos, right? Sorry. But yeah, I didn't expect much. I'm not expecting changes unless they're forced from Webby. Webby doesn't. He's done it once with Marcelo this year, and then that blew up in his face because Roger got injured.
Yeah, he got injured.
And they had to put poor old Ed Cossey out there. So Broncos though. Tristan Saylor at fullback, Jesse Arthurs and Dean Mariner on the wings, Katoni Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo in the centres, Ezra Mam, Jock Madden in the halves, Corey Jensen, Billy Walters and Xavier Willison. Front row, Brendan Pecora and Jack Gowiski in the second row, Kobe Hetherington lock, Tyson Smoothie, Fletcher Baker, Joseph Karapana and Martin Tapau on the bench. And then obviously we've got Reece Walsh, Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan in the extended. I'm not sure if they'll play. Jacko said if, and it's a big if, don't play, we can win this game for sure. I'm picking the Broncos because I feel like I'd be too optimistic picking the Warriors after that last win. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping they bounce back. But yeah, I'm not sure. You reckon the Origin guys will play? If they get through tonight healthy, you got to fly to New Zealand.
Yeah.
They need to win.
They need to win as much as we do.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It depends how they all pull up. And if there's any niggles or anything like that, because obviously Origin finishes late on a Wednesday and the game is on Saturday afternoon, so it's the earlier kickoff. So they would literally have to get over to NZ by Friday, you would imagine.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of travel.
Friday, so
it'd be a lot of travel for them. So yeah, I'm hoping they don't play as a Warriors fan. But look, if you chuck Reece Walsh into that team and then those and Carrigan and Haas, geez, it could be another tough afternoon at the office for us.
It still looks like a decent team.
It is speed. That's, again, I look at that team and they've got speed in there, like Saylor, Arthurs, Staggs, Cobbo, Mariner, Mam, speed and X factor all through that back line. Still a fairly decent forward pack as well.
And we have no speed.
None. Yeah, apart from Dallin, it's got a little bit.
Dallin's got speed. Yeah, but like your Roger doesn't have the speed he used to.
No.
Pompey is always running in mud.
Shoelaces tied together. Yep.
Yeah, and Chance isn't quick. He's quick enough.
No, not particularly quick. No,
but not a pace guy. So yeah, are you going Warriors or Bronx?
Oh, my heart says Warriors, but my head says Broncos. I hate to do it, but yeah, I think Broncos by 8.
Yeah, so I'm going with Bronx as well. Probably most likely putting money on the Warriors though. So.
Yeah, you get that nice little reverse psychology sort of thing, win situation happening.
And Jagger said Man's got the worst D for a half. Get Murata to run in all day.
Let's hope that happens. Let's hope that happens. Yeah, we got to exploit any weakness that we can for sure.
Yeah, so we look at the rest of the round. Friday night, we got the Bulldogs, Cronulla. I've gone with Cronulla.
Yep. I stick with Cronulla as well.
Then Warriors, Brisbane, we've already talked about. We've both gone Brisbane, much to Jacko's chagrin.
Sorry, Jacko.
Knights and Eels, I've gone with Knights at home. I know they haven't done well at home recently, but I have to give it to them.
I think it'll be a dour contest, but I think the Knights will just just get over them at home. Yeah.
And then Melbourne, Canberra. I've gone with Melbourne.
Melbourne by a country mile.
Yep. Then we got Dragons, Dolphins. I've gone with Dolphins.
I'm going to go Dragons.
Oh,
sorry, mate.
I think I've only picked the Dragons once this year, and I think I even got that one wrong, but I'm not sure. Panthers, Cowboys. I've gone Panthers.
Panthers for sure. Yeah.
And then Roosters, Tigers. The Tigers' little time in the sun, I think, will be over. I think Roosters will get them.
Yeah, they might come back down to earth with a bit of a thud here. Yeah, Roosters.
So that is all the picks. I can put the picks away. I love it. So that's it for the NRL. So Jacko usually runs away by now. Simon is just giving us our update. Multi TV will have the Warriors Broncos game live due to Matariki. I nearly forgot about that. Oh, so that's cool. So over on this side of the Tasman on Multi TV, you can watch the Warriors Broncos game. But yeah, Super League, Wigan have moved back to the top of the table after St. Helens lost in the weekend. Top four are now Wigan, St. Helens, Hull KR, and Warrington. Simon can probably fill me in. There's no Super League matches this weekend, and I don't know why. I was trying to find out, but round 16 doesn't start till July. So not far away, but a week away. But yeah, this week's results, Hull KR defeated Castleford 13-12. Wigan defeated London 36-0. You might have already tuned out of a show by the time we got Super League last week. I didn't get it this week, but London are dead last. They've got a points differential of negative 400 and something. And the worst in the NRL is...
How does that happen?
They're getting smashed all the time.
Yeah,
They've only got one win, but yeah, we compared them to the Titans. Titans' points differential is a lot better now. But yeah, that was shocking. Then Leeds defeated Lee 18-10. Warrington defeated Hull FC 24-18. Catalans defeated Uddersfield 22-18. And then St. Helens defeated Salford. Oh, Salford defeated St. Helens 20-18. Yeah, there we go. So there's no Super League this week due to an international game against France and England. So that's why. See, so they're a competition that actually stops their comp. They do that for the other one. The one Wigan just won. I can't remember it anymore.
Mid-season cup or something. Or...
Yeah, I talked about it last week. It's gone out of my head. Simon will pop up and say it at some point. But yeah, so I won't bother saying what round 16 is yet because we can talk about that next week. But that is the show. Anything else you want to add, Rue, before we go?
Oh, just that it's Old Boys Day this weekend.
Challenge Cup. Sorry.
Challenge Cup.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old Boys Weekend. It's Heritage Round too, right? So
it is. It's Heritage Round. So that superb jersey you got hanging behind you there, we're going to be wearing that. The 95 away strip, which is one of my favorite jerseys of all time. So great to see that back. It'll be great to see them run out in it. It'd be even better to see us beat the Broncos wearing it because this is a little known fact about that jersey. We only ever wore it in 3 premiership games and we got beaten by 40 in all 3 of those games. And the last time we wore that jersey was round 22, 1995. The first time I ever saw the Warriors play live, that was at the old ANZ Stadium, and the Broncos won 44-6. So, yeah, read into that what you will, but yeah, still a fantastic jersey. And so if you guys are at the game, it should be great. You'd be a lot of ex-players there. I know a lot of them are heading over. We saw Campo on the weekend, and he said he's going to be there for sure. So, yeah, get amongst it.
Yeah, and I know my lady will be very happy when if Reece Walsh gets named. She'll get to watch him play, so she'll be happy. Though
hopefully she's not happy then.
Yeah, I must say after what you and Hammer got us to do after that Dolphins game, she's got a bit of a man crush on Mitch Barnett now.
Yeah, right. Okay.
She's very happy.
Not your classic dreamy footballer, but you know, each to their own.
You've seen who she's with, right? Come on. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me again tonight. It really helped me not having to ramble by myself. So really appreciate your time, Rue, for jumping on with me. And you guys doing a show tomorrow night?
We are. So we are 6:30 p.m. local time in Australia. So tomorrow nights, that will be 8:30 p.m. for you guys in NZ. So yeah, we'll be on Facebook and YouTube as usual.
Yeah, so you'll get to talk about that lovely Warriors game.
Oh yeah, how good.
All over again, and hopefully talk about a Queensland win
Hopefully.
tonight.
Yeah.
But so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on the Standoff with Brad and Rue tonight. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show at 8 p.m. next Wednesday, or at your convenience on iHeartRadio or Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. I don't need to thank Paul or Richie because they aren't here. So good night, everyone. Enjoy Origin.
Take care, everyone.